Welcome, dear Thriver, to Thriver TV, where you not only learn about narcissists, but how to detach, recover, and thrive after narcissistic abuse in direct, powerful, and fast quantum ways. Before we get started, I just want to say I hope that you're having a happy and a safe Easter break. And I hope you've had a chance to be with those you love in a healthy way and been able to create healthy boundaries against narcissistic individuals. Today, I want to talk to you about renewal, clarity, and a clear path forward. And I want to talk to you about the Stockdale Paradox, which I've only just heard about, and I find it really fascinating because I believe it powerfully relates to our true recovery from narcissistic abuse. This concept, if you've never heard about it, it was discussed by Jim Collins in his book, Good to Great. And it was named after James Stockdale, a former American presidential candidate, a naval officer, and he was also a Vietnam prisoner of war, which is where this paradox happened. So in essence, he spoke about three groups of people: the two that didn't survive the concentration camp as a prisoner of war, and the one group of people who did survive it. And when I heard about this, I thought this so relates to our narcissistic abuse recovery community. And it's exactly what I also believe about the people I see recover, heal, and thrive, or not, in this community. So let's unpack this. We're going to start with group number one, which is the victimhood group. And of course, victimhood is so understandable. Of course, there were people in the concentration camp situation who couldn't accept where they were or what was happening to them, and they were deeply distressed by it and felt incredibly powerless as a result of it. According to James Stockdale, these people did not survive their horrific circumstances. Because of the victimized approach, they got sick, they withered away, or they put themselves into situations where they were abused further and harder, which led to their demise. Some of these people sunk into such a deep depression that they gave up, and the light of their soul and their life force vanished, or they lost their mind and they went insane. I too have seen people who are narcissistically abused, deeply resenting and feeling victimized by what's happening to them or what happened to them. And they can be very stuck and sick with their life force diminishing and horrible and terrible things continuing to happen in their life. And even if these people are discarded by a narcissist or they somehow leave themselves and they get free, they don't start recovering in the victimhood mindset unless they're determined to shift from that view. Nothing can change unless it's accepted by us to move through it into another state. Because whatever we resist persists if we don't accept it. And as well as the barrier of non-acceptance, these people didn't help themselves. Rather, they hope to be saved instead of getting empowered and being their own saviors. So that's the first group. It's very hot in here. Okay, that's the first group. The second group is extreme positivity. So James Stockdale observed that the people who said things in the concentration camp experience, they said, we're going to be fine. We're going to be out of here soon, in a month, by summer, by fall. They were trying to live in a bubble of positivity and ignore the day-to-day issues of what was really taking place. It's like they didn't want to accept what was happening. And he said that they'd get through a few times of we'll be out by then or we'll be out soon, because it dragged on for years. And because those times of getting out did not eventuate, these people died of a broken heart. It makes sense because the gap between the reality and fantasy of what they wanted was closed. The cognitive dissonance collapsed and they did not survive the shock of the reality. I really do believe that there are people in the narcissistic abuse situation who just try to ignore the issues. They're too hard to accept. They want to stay positive and they hope for the best. And they can be in the cognitive dissonance such as, no, this person wouldn't do something that bad to me, or he or she will get it eventually and stop being like this, or I'll get out of here one day, and other unrealistic comments which amount to believing in some future promise without facing and taking affirmative action today. This reminds me of New Age law of attraction, which I really do speak out against. People just believing that if they decide it's so, or they think it should be so, that it'll be so, rather than dealing with the reality with hard decisions and some hard actions in a human form, in a real way. So just the same as group number one, the people in group number two didn't accept the reality of the situation. They weren't in acceptance. They didn't prepare. They didn't help themselves. And they also too hoped to be saved instead of being their own saviors. And then we have the last group, which is so interesting. Group number three, which I call accepting facts with realism and empowerment. So it's the balance between optimism and realism. These are the people who survived the extreme conditions of the concentration camp. And they lived on. They got out and they lived on. James Stockdale said the survivors were the ones who accepted that this was their position, that they were in. I'm here, I'm in this. And they decided, okay, now that I accept what I'm dealing with, what can I do to survive this? They lived in the now, and their goal was empowerment, whatever it would take to make it out of this. So it's really an understanding for all of us, there is evil in the world. There is narcissistic and even psychopathic people. We know this by seeing their actions, no matter what we would like to believe or what we'd like to believe about them. Facing reality means listening to ourselves, critically thinking, being alert, being aware, being prepared, and protecting and empowering ourselves, doing whatever is necessary to stay strong, positive, and safe. I like to think of thriving as you are able to look fully at the darkness and be the light in it. The people in our wonderful Thriver community who are willing to let go of the victimization, drop the cognitive magical thinking, face the truth squarely, straight on, and do all that they can to help themselves and empower themselves, which in our Thriver community means turning inwards, letting go of trauma, getting ourselves well, and stepping forth into our true self, taking action towards our freedom, our power, our new lives. The people in our community who do that, they don't just survive, they thrive. And of course, this takes away nothing from the seriousness of the situation of narcissistic abuse. Of course. Because narcissistic abuse is like being in a concentration camp. It's mental, it's insane, it's grueling. And my heart goes out to the people in the former two groups because I've been in both of them. I was overly positive and hoping it would all just be the way I wanted it to be. And I have also been deeply mired in the powerless victimhood of it. And it wasn't until I moved into the latter group, the third group, that I got through this in ways that were amazing and also set up the rest of my life for so many wins and successes that I never thought I could have the resources and the fortitude and the power to create the way I do now as a result of what I went through. It totally enriched me. So thrivers, truly, we are empowered by the situation when we get out of the concentration camp because of what it called on us to become. We're not diminished. I really want you to know that. So if you found this fascinating today, I really did. And if it makes sense to you and you would love to join me and other thrivers who know how to help activate your true thriver recovery, then I can't recommend becoming a NARP member enough. So I'd love to hear your comments about this video today. Maybe you want to come over to the blog. We have some amazing conversations there. And I'd like to know, have you ever heard of the Stockdale Paradox? Because I hadn't until recently. So until the next one, and I'll wipe this sweat off me, keep smiling, keep healing, and keep thriving because there's nothing else to do, beautiful people. Until the next one, and happy Easter, stay safe, and lots of love. Bye-bye.